Welcome to Little Saigon, Clarendon. This is the story of a neighborhood in transition and the people that made it their home for a time. On April 30th, 1975, following America's drawdown from the Vietnam War, Saigon fell to the Communists, starting a mass exodus of refugees fleeing to many corners of the world. One of the largest contingents settled here in Clarendon. This is their story, told in their own voices. Chapter 3, Scenes from Little Saigon.
I like the intimacy, of these shops. You go in, and even if you don't know the owners, people were very friendly. You felt like you were at home.
This one that I'm thinking in particular, I think it's called DA-Hung, H-U-N-G. I think that's the one. And it's right. I swear it was like about 4 feet wide, and it was right next to this little tavern. One of these hot dog hamburger stands, and like another store. And it had like this. It was actually a repurposed 1950s or something. American. Main Street type of building facade, and there's like a jeweler or somebody crammed in there making a living.
Later on, some gold shop, Vietnamese jewelry, and when the refugees started to come later, they would be selling their gold because that's how we save our money, by keeping gold. So that is where, before the gold shop was set up, I think people would go there and traded it, for money, sell it to each other.
My family, my wife and the 2 boys still in Vietnam at that time. So I went to Little Saigon to buy things to send home, and that's the only place that there's a service to send packages to Vietnam at that time. And in the 80s, there was no diplomatic relationship with Vietnam, so sending a packet to Vietnam is very costly and very difficult.
Now that we had our own little corner or market, we were just so excited, even though the place was quite run down.
Summer building is nice and big, but it really run down. And I remember the store, they were trying to start like the little elephants and little paintings and things like that, and a lot of dishes and things, they sell in there. And I remember the store when we walk in some area, we have to be careful because our foot can go right through to the floor.
Here's people who moved into a building, didn't change it that much, but we're using it and making a community or a neighborhood. And that seemed to be a contrast to some of the, kind of like the rundown white flight kind of feeling I was getting from the other parts of Arlington and Clarendon and the whole Wilson Boulevard.
And it was always filled with these huge suitcases out. I think they had a whole, sort of a row of suitcases. They had them on display on the sidewalk, and they were the biggest suitcases I had ever seen. And I thought that this is probably something really relevant to them, because when they come here, they're coming from forever, and they're bringing as much stuff as they can, so they need these huge suitcases.
Our store was one of those. It's very narrow, but it's long. It's not that wide, but it's just long, because we only have, I think, remember on the walls, they have shelves on the walls, right? And then you have an aisle in the middle. Go straight down, but like from here all the way to that end, but the width isn't that much. You have little shops that, like the grocery store, you would lease some space for other people because they cannot afford, or they cannot go out and get their own lease. So it's like, we want to open a business, but we cannot afford, so can you give us like a little corner so we can sell videos or something like that. So I see more and more and more of those people, and that's exactly what Pacific did, because they got so much space that they lease out, jewelry store to somebody, the fabric store to somebody, video store to somebody. So they do that, and so that's why you got so many people coming in there, just because they have sort of like a mini mall in a way, right? And
in the Han shoe store, there was sort of a collection of businesses. The shoe store was gone, I believe, and I'm trying to remember. There was a pool hall upstairs, and I think it was upstairs. And then there was a Vietnamese restaurant right on the side, on the Highland Street side, and it was really narrow and small, and it had about 6 or 7 tables. Everybody knows about it now, but it was so unique at the time. It came in a bowl, and it had, you know, as you went down into it, you know, it started with spring rolls, and then you get to the sort of noodles, not noodles, but the bamboo sprouts and lettuce and, you know, and peanuts. And I don't think I had ever had cilantro before. And, you know, just the taste of the cilantro, just the food was so incredible and unique. It was really fantastic. It was great. It was the first time I'd ever had Vietnamese food, ever.
I think the way they cook food, you know, the way they sell grocery store, I don't see any American except a few Americans with Vietnamese friends, you know, that would like to come there, or some of the American who used to serve in Vietnam, because that's a place where you can go and you can still see the display of the yellow flag of the former South Vietnam, and then you can also hear all the music, and then from time to time you see people in a long traditional dress. But I think in the early '80s or even late '80s, it's just mostly Vietnamese American.
To learn more or get in touch, visit littlesaigonclarendon.com. Tell us your thoughts or recollections on Twitter with the hashtag #LittleSaigonClarendon. To hear more, continue to the next storefront shown on the map.